A national survey asked people, how often do you eat out for dinner instead of home? The frequencies were as follows. Complete parts A through G. Okay, so we have the responses: never, rarely, sometimes, most of the time, and always, with the frequencies. Now, we can often click on this button here and click Open StatCrunch. For this particular part, StatCrunch does not do a great job of creating relative frequencies from this. Excel is really good, but I don't really want to show you Excel. So let's just do this one kind of by hand, really the calculator. So to find that relative frequency, we're basically looking for the percent, but really not percent, just the decimal, the ratio for each of these. So add up all of these values, and you're going to get 1961. And so now we're just going to divide each of these. So you're going to say 186 divided by 1961. And we get 0.0948, yada, yada, yada. Let's see what the rounding is. They almost always tell you what to round to. Round to 3 decimals. So if you're doing a bunch of these, I'd hate to miss one just due to rounding. I'm going to change the calculator's mode to 3. And this will round all of them to 3 decimals. Notice it's selected on 3 now. I'm going to press second mode to quit. And I can just press enter. And there's that same one, and I've got 0.095. So that's what I'm going to put in there. Okay, so right on the calculator, I just went ahead and put the rest of these in. So we're going to populate with these values here: 0.215, 0.470, 0.189, and 0.031. Now it's going to ask what percentage of the respondents answered always. So here's always. We have 0.031. Now to convert to a percent, remember you just multiply it by 100, which basically just moves the decimal point 2 places to the right. So 0.031 is going to be 3, and it says round to 1 decimal place, 3.1%. What percentage of the respondents answered never or rarely? So now I need to add these two together, and I'll get 0.310 or 31%. So in this one now we're going to create a visual. So we have a choice here, right? So we could just look at the choices and see which ones it could be. So if you look at the sometimes, the S, it's certainly bigger than all the other ones. So you know it can't be C. So let's see what the difference here is. The biggest difference I see is the always. So the always in part A, we should be at 60. So the only possible one is B. But I'm going to show you how to do this in StatCrunch, right? So let's go ahead and open this up in StatCrunch, because StatCrunch is really good at creating visuals. And we're going to do a bar graph. So press graph, bar plot, and this is summary data. So our categories are in response and counts are in the frequency. And we'll just keep the defaults for now. So this looks a little different, doesn't it? Notice what happened. It put it in a different order. So what I need to do is change this. And it looks like it put it in alphabetical order down here. So I'm going to go back to Options and Edit. And let's change this to Worksheet order. That's better. So that's going to keep it in the same order the worksheet is in. And then I could size this if I needed to. And if you needed to copy and paste this to put it into a document, you can copy this and pop it into your Word document. For this particular problem, we're just going to look at it and see which one it matches up with. Construct a relative frequency bar graph. So the relative frequency is going to have exactly the same shape. Unfortunately, I wish they had sort of scaled this a little bit better than they did. They went ahead and took it all the way up to 100%, which is giving you the impression that these graphs actually have different shape. Let me go over. So the only one this could possibly be, right, is B. Because if we're looking at the shape here, we know always should be exactly the same as we have it here. And we know C, these three here appear to be equal for C. And we know they're not equal because we're using these values here for the relative frequency. If I'm using StatCrunch, let me go over here to Edit and change this to relative frequency. And notice what happens to the graph. it doesn't change, does it? The only thing that changes here is my scale, the vertical axis. And now onto pie chart. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. You could just look at it and see which one sort of makes the most sense for the pies as far as the pieces of the pies. Or let me show you on StatCrunch. Graph, pie chart, we have summary data. Our categories, response, and counts are in the frequency. And just press compute. Okay, so there's the pie right there. And you select the one that sort of matches up. Unfortunately, the colors are a little bit different. This is one where it's actually, it'd be easier if I did not make this a multiple choice question. So one thing to kind of look at, right, is that I know my sometimes is the largest one. So make sure that in this case, in my stat lab, the green is the largest one. So make sure it's considerably larger than the other ones. And that the always is the smallest one. So we know it cannot be these two right here, right? Because always is bigger than some of the other categories. So flip over here. And if we look at how we graph that, sometimes it's almost half, right? And we can see that from the relative frequency. If I look up here, it's 0.470. So the green here, the one that's almost half, is B. So I'll be honest, if I'm doing this one, I'm probably not going to use StatCrunch. I'll just kind of look at a couple of distinctive features of the differences and narrow it down. Okay, then part G, these are actually sometimes the hardest ones. The crunching out part is often not going to be super hard. It's kind of tedious sometimes to know where some of the options are, but being able to make conclusions based on this. So in this case, it says, suppose a person claims 3.1% of all people in a nation always eat out. Is this a descriptive or inferential statement? So this is a survey, right? So this is this is definitely not representative of the entire nation, right? Much too small. So this is an inferential statistic or statement. If it had said a person claims 3.1% of those surveyed, then that would be descriptive. I hope you see the difference. And I hope this helps.